Have you ever found yourself in a room, speaking a second language, only to feel like you're not being fully understood? Not because you chose the wrong word, not because your grammar was off, but because of your accent. Or maybe on the other side of the spectrum, you've trained hard, maybe even mimic native speakers to perfection, only to have someone say, "Wow, you sound American," or "I couldn't even tell you were from, I don't know, America, from the US." And you're proud, but also wondering, was that the goal? Today, we're diving into the fascinating and, let's be honest, controversial world of accent training. Specifically, we're exploring the delicate, often blurry line between authenticity, sounding like yourself, embracing your roots, and intelligibility, being clearly understood across cultures. Is one more important than the other? Can we pursue both? Should we? And what happens when social expectations, linguistic bias, and identity politics all crash into this discussion? Buckle up, my wonderful listeners. This episode will be a long ride through sound, identity, power, and pedagogy. Get yourself a coffee, sit down comfortably, and let's get started.
Woo! Let's go!
The starting point here. What is an accent? Well, let's get back to the root. An accent is simply the way someone pronounces words. That's it. That's all. No good or bad, no correct or incorrect. It's just sound patterns shaped by your linguistic and cultural environment. Now, when people talk about reducing or losing an accent, what they often mean is moving closer to the phonological norms of a perceived standard, typically based on geography and power. In English, this usually means General American or received pronunciation, which is the British English. But here's the kicker. Everyone has an accent. Yes, even the native speakers who believe they speak in a neutral tone. Breaking news. Neutral just means privileged enough to be considered the default. So when we approach accent training, we need to start from a place of respect and awareness. You're not broken. You're not less fluent, let's say it. You're not wrong. But if your accent is making it hard for others to understand you, or worse, if it's holding you back professionally or socially, then yes, training might help. But that training doesn't need to erase who you are. It just needs to open the door for clear, more confident communication. The linguistics of intelligibility. Let's ground this conversation in some research, all right? Linguist Tracy Derwin and her colleagues did extensive studies on accent and intelligibility. And their findings? Well, crystal clear, right? The biggest predictor of being understood wasn't sounding native. It was speaking clearly and rhythmically, and focusing on stress patterns and prosody. Think about that. Not vowel precision, not consonant perfectness, not sounding American, quotation mark, or sounding British. What mattered was clarity, rhythm, and natural pacing. This challenges the narrative many learners are fed, that sounding native is the gold standard, when in fact intelligibility can be improved without sacrificing cultural identity. So, if you're teaching or learning with the goal of being understood, that's amazing, awesome. That's a powerful and inclusive goal. But if you're pushing for accent erasure as a form of fluency, then it's time to pause and unpack what's really going on. The politics of accent. Who gets to sound right? Now, this is going to be a good one. And I'm going to be sipping a coffee here. And well, let's talk power, all right? The reality is that certain accents carry prestige, while others are seen as inferior. A French accent in English? What? A Spanish accent in English? Often seen as charming. A Nigerian or Indian accent? Too often stereotyped or ridiculed. Accent bias is real, and it can impact hiring perception of intelligence, right? And even access to opportunities. This is what is happening right now. And if you are in social media, for sure you're going to find that super easily. Especially if you're a teacher trying to look for a job and you don't belong to a certain nationality, and just because you belong to another nationality and you don't have that specific nationality that translates into perfection or the native way, native-like accent, it's a problem. In a landmark study, job applicants with foreign-sounding, names and accents were less likely to be hired. And this is what happens. And here's the thing. Accent training in this context becomes not just about pronunciation. It becomes about survival, adaptation, strategy. And let's be honest, it shouldn't have to be that way. But while we work on changing systems, we also need to equip learners with tools that empower them in the world as it is. So if someone wants to modify their accent to access more opportunities, I support that. Just as I support someone who proudly embraces their native intonation, refusing to conform to discriminatory expectations. It's about agency, not assimilation. The methods. What works in accent training? Let's get practical, okay? If you or your students are working on accent clarity, here are some of the most effective research-backed techniques. First one, shadowing. Repeating speech in real time with native audio. Great for rhythm, stress, and prosody. Second, minimal pairs. Practicing word pair that differ by one sound. For example, ship and sheep. Crucial for precision specifically. Third, phonemic awareness. Learning IPA to visualize sounds. Fourth, intonation training. Understanding sentences stress, rising, falling tones, and chunking ideas naturally. Fifth, recording and playback. Listening to your own voice to develop self-awareness and track progress. Sixth, muscle memory drills, especially for sounds not found in your native language, like the English TH or the French R. But here's the twist. These tools should be used to enhance intelligibility, not erase identity. You can learn to say this clearly without giving up your natural vocal style. Accent training should be empowering, not oppressive. Identity, belonging, and emotional labor. Okay, now let's get personal for a moment. For many multilinguals, accent is tied to belonging, or lack thereof. It's the constant reminder that you are not from here. It can evoke feelings of shame, of never being enough. I've heard countless stories from learners who feel embarrassed to speak, fearing judgment or correction. And this is where we as educators, friends, and colleagues must show empathy. We need to shift from policing accent to celebrating multilingual expression. We need to recognize the emotional labor that goes into adapting one's voice just to be accepted. And we need to honor every speaker's right to be heard without having to sound like someone else. So, what should teachers do? If you're a language teacher, your role in this is massive. Accent training in your classroom should never be about imitation. It should be about awareness, clarity, and confidence. Encourage your students to understand their own phonetic tendencies. Learn the stress time or syllable time nature of their target language. Focus on communication over perfection. And celebrate their bilingual or multilingual identity. All right? Model diverse accents in your teaching materials. Use videos and audio from speakers around the world. Show your students that fluency isn't a sound, it's a skill. And when students ask, do I need to sound American or British to be fluent? Tell them, no. You just need to be understood. You just need to be you. And this is where authenticity and intelligibility meet. Now, let's return to our original question. Where is the line between authenticity and intelligibility? The truth is, it's not a line. It's a spectrum, a dance, a personal journey. Some will want to modify their accent for practical reasons. Others will fight to keep theirs as a symbol of pride, maybe. And both paths are valid. What matters is choice, intentionality, respect. You can speak with a strong L1 accent and be brilliant. You can work to soften your accent and still be rooted in your culture. The two are not enemies. They are allies, if we let them be. Accent training is not about changing who you are. It's about embracing how you connect. It's not about hiding your roots. It's about opening doors. In the end, it's about balance, refining your sound without losing your soul. And if you're listening right now, wondering if your accent is good enough, let me tell you something. Your voice matters. And this is something that we already covered in one of the episodes before. Whether it's smooth or rough, lyrical or clipped, familiar or foreign, your voice carries your story. And that story deserves to be heard. So, train your accent if it helps you thrive. Keep it proudly if it honors your truth. Just never, ever let someone convince you that fluency is about erasure. Because it's not. It's about freedom. And until next time, keep speaking your truth, shaping your sound, and standing proud in every syllable you own. Until next time, keep teaching, keep learning, and keep living the language.